Sanji catching a stray from Luffy of all people made my day. Was a good laugh. Now, I would not say Sanji. Well, I don't know if it's a stray because it wasn't a bad thing. The guy was talking about love and he thought about Sanji and how Sanji is and how future Sanji could be. I don't know if it's a stray. All right, it might be a stray. Might be a stray. Not a bad one though. It's a stray, but not a bad one. Y'all know the vibes. We get to the comment section and we read the comments. Like I told y'all, comment. Maybe you can get in the video. Today, we're going to read the best comments and the worst comments because I think both should get recognition for whatever. Now, not gonna waste no time. Let's get to it. Michael Monroe 2148 says Scopper is confirmed top tier alongside the steers and a desk that is holding a Kainu back. All right. Hazy McKinney 3368 says on God, when Dragon shows up, the internet will break. No joke. It's going to be peak hype. I'm going to say this. The internet will not break when Dragon shows up. The internet will break when Dragon shows up and does something. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a distinction. Once Dragon shows up, even if it's a gust of wind, it's gonna go crazy. But he can't just show up and not do anything. He has to do something. Showing up is gonna be cool, but doing something, that's when it's peak. Nicholas_Hamilton says the power scaling is going to be nuts. People are gonna start putting Scopper Gabon in their top 10 for the coming 2 weeks. Well, on my top 30, the past top 30, I still haven't made a video for that, by the way. So stick a pin. We'll make a video for that. 2024 top 30. I had Scopper Gabon at 26. I think now with the new information we have, I kind of have to move him up. I just have to. So, I mean, do I at 26? The thing is, the 26 was just because I wasn't sure he's going to be in the chapter or be in an arc, but it's like I had a good feeling, so just put him on there. Now he's 1000% here. Wherever Rayleigh is, I'm willing to place Scopper Gabon there. Now, here's the thing. Depending on how Scopper does against Luffy and Zoro, because in the previous video I said Scopper is about to cook next chapter, and the reason why I said that is because it's a showcase. Like for Rayleigh versus Kizaru, it's a showcase for the Pirate King's crew. They're legendary, and Oda has to carry on that legend and let the audience know that it's not for play. Like, these people are really strong, so it's just showcase. It's just narratively what makes sense. So I don't know about top 10. Top 10 is kind of crazy, but he's definitely going to get a bump based on how Oda, not only because he's a Pirate King's left wing, whatever, but also Scopper is also an old man. We know how Oda feels about old men. Not to make it sound crazy, but that's just something that we know for a fact. Oda's biased towards old men. That's why old men in the series, typically they look great, just because that's Oda, right? That's his bias. But no, I expect Scopper to cook. Luffy Mainika says Scopper probably has the best observation haki on the island. If he sensed the Holy Knight summon circle while Luffy didn't, I agree. 1000%. I agree that Scopper Gabon has insane observation haki. Now, I think he has the best control. Saying he has the best observation haki, it's wild because Luffy has future sight, right? And of course, Luffy is good at sensing as well. Scopper might just have a specialty in regards to that thing. Like Sanji can sense women from far away. Could just be a thing that Scopper has. You can argue that though, that he has the best observation haki in Elbaf. You can argue it, but Luffy's pretty special too. Jacques 7495 says, Brago, I'm disappointed in you for not mentioning how Ripley was likely the real reason for Gabon being called the Mountain Eater. I apologize. I didn't put 2 and 2 together until later, and it was too late then. However, you are right. I can't wrap my brain around it in regards to how Gabon was able to successfully, either way, yes, that epithet, he's earned it because Ripley, yeah, let's get to the next question. Aman Shamra 4358 said Oda completely knew what he was doing. Before taking a break, he gave lore piece and agenda piece in just 2 chapters. Based on my opinion, Roger, several times over Rayleigh, and Rayleigh's equal to Gabon. Okay. This is the thing, right? Because this is a short discussion. We're not going to get too deep into it, but this is how I see things. You have Roger's crew, you have Luffy's crew. I think people are trying to parallel them a bit too much, right? Based on what we know so far, Luffy's crew has way more depth, right? Way more depth than the Roger Pirates. The Roger Pirates, they had a lot of Roger Pirates. They just don't have, so far, based on what we know, the cachet, the notoriety that Luffy's crew already has, and it's gonna go up even more. So Luffy's crew seems to have more depth past just obviously Zoro and Sanji, right? We still have Jinbei. Other people could join, but so far we have more depth. Here's the thing. Luffy could be significantly, currently Luffy is clearly above Zoro and Sanji. Like, it's not a conversation, but they have more depth after Zoro and Sanji. For Roger, what if Roger, right? Let's say Roger and Luffy cancel out. What if Rayleigh and Scopper, they have to be stronger than where Sanji and Zoro is in comparison to Luffy because they don't have the depth that the Straw Hats have. Again, we can parallel them as much as we want, but the crew dynamic is not the same. Even Zoro's role on the crew is not the same as Rayleigh's role on the crew, right? So at the end of the day, I think it is possible that Rayleigh is closer to Roger than Zoro is to Luffy. And the same thing for Scopper and Sanji. That is entirely feasible. I think at times we look at the past and we try to like, yo, Kid is Whitebeard, Law is Shiki. And the thing is, I've done that. You know, I did the Law is Whitebeard, Kid is Shiki thing. But I think the parallel should be loose, right? It should be, hey, this person could get to this. This person is the closest. This is a comp, right? Not a parallel. This is a comp. This is a comparison, a possible comp, not a parallel just because of how Oda typically does things. But I get it. I do get it. I don't think Roger is that much stronger than Rayleigh, as Aman Shamar is saying. I do think he's clearly stronger. And I don't know if Rayleigh and Gaban are equal. It's hard to see equality for any two characters. Maybe you can talk about Dory and Brogy, right? People talk about Zoro and Sanji. I think there's going to be a slight separation regardless. I'll put my money on Rayleigh over Gaban. Now, them being equal, I'm not mad at that. I think, here's the thing. People, because I saw a tweet recently, said that Zoro and Sanji were always meant to be equals. No. I think we have to use words properly. Zoro and Sanji were always meant to be comparable, all right? Comparable. And I think that's when people get lost in the weeds where it's like, Zoro and Sanji, they're going to be equals. No, they're going to be comparable, where it's not a super one-sided fight. I saw somebody tweet. Radman said, I think it was Radman. Yo, Zoro mid-diff Sanji or something like that. That's never happening. Okay, they're comparable, and that's going to be the same. That's going to be what it is throughout the entirety of the story. Equals? No. So jumping out there a little bit, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think Rayleigh and Gaban are equal. I think one's stronger, but they're comparable. Word of today, comparable. Nati Nugasu says this may or may not have been in Oda's mind, but quick trivia for y'all. A mule is a cross between a horse and a donkey. The size of the mule will depend on the mother. A mule which the mother is the donkey will be small, like a donkey, but a mule which the mother is the horse will be big, like a horse. Oh, I mean, Oda could have been thinking of that, but knowing Oda is probably just random. Here's the thing that I've realized. I've spoken to some authors lately, and they've said that people sometimes read their material and stumble onto things that they didn't even plan to do. And they're like, oh, that's neat. Didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to connect those things that way. And I think Oda is a phenomenal mangaka, right? Phenomenal author. However, I think some things just happen to just fall into place and we find things to make sense. So Oda writes a story and then it's kind of like there's a hole. And then we go and find the perfect rock to put in this hole and fill it up. And we're like, yo, the hole was for this. And it's like, no, it's just part of the story, right? And it happened to fall into place. So still masterful, but like shout out to Nachi Nagase with that example. Was Oda thinking about that? Probably not, but it's possible. And I like the call out. Man of Culture 8666 says, when One Piece is finished, I'd love a mini-series on the Roger Pirates from when Roger set out to sea. I don't see that happening. Actually, let me take that back. That could happen. I just think it's just dangerously close to what we just experienced. It probably could happen, but I think before we follow another pirate, we could follow just faction altogether. Let's follow the Marines. Let's follow Garp, even Dragon, before we follow Roger. That's very similar to Luffy, because if we do a mini series, what are we talking about? Like 10 chapters, 25 chapters, 50 chapters, right? Because if it's a mini series, if it's a Roger thing, it's going to get animated, but we want it to be done right. So it happening right after Luffy's journey, I don't know, but I think that happens. However, not right after. Isaiah Spencer 7411 says Braga was acting like Luffy's dumb for not remembering Egghead Magic Circle, while Braga didn't even know the reveal was Scopper is hilarious. I mean, maybe I got some Luffy in me, but there's a difference. Luffy saw the Magic Circle, bro, it was 2 days ago. On the chapter, it said a different name, right? It said a different name, which, I mean, in hindsight, it was obvious. Whatever, let's just move on. PTM Production says Scopper is like the Sanji of the Roger Pirates. Yes, I think so too. PTM Productions. Astute. Disaster Drew 7738 says, gotta love Yasan's Master Roshi vibes. Oda always delivers the sauce with aged legends. Also, I feel the similarities with Sanji extend to his 60-year-old SBS depiction with the braided beard. At least seems like a nice detail by Oda. I forgot about that. Good point. On your left, 52 says, I don't see the power scaling issue. Scopper is probably equal to Rayleigh. We just addressed this. Equals, in my opinion, just isn't. No. I think they're comparable. I don't think they're equal. I think even the same thing with Roger and Whitebeard, not comparable, equal. I think here's the thing, not equal, comparable. I say this, I would say that, because I've changed my mind on this, I always had Whitebeard top 1 all time. I now think if Whitebeard and Roger fought, based on just the demons that they are, no one would give way. I don't think Whitebeard would fall first. I don't think Roger would fall first. I think they're either falling together or nobody's falling. So like, I'm breaking my own rule by saying that those two could be equals. But narratively, I don't think Oda, if they fought, would ever let either of them lose to each other, you know? So, but if Scopper is equal to Rayleigh, here's the thing. We would never know. We're never going to get the answer to that, just because even to this day, we still have people that think Sanji is equal to Zoro or Zoro is stronger than Sanji. There's some people that think Sanji's stronger than Zoro too. I don't want to dismiss those guys, but there's nothing that's definitive, right? I mean, you can point towards some things that would lean Zoro, but nothing's definitive. And I don't think we're ever going to get a definitive answer, especially for Scopper and Rayleigh. So if you believe that, I'm with you. It is what it is. Irie Goliath 3830 says, 142, the Dave Chappelle reference. I mean, if you know, you know. That's all I gotta say. If you know, you know. It's about Ja Rule. Y'all know the vibes, man. Y'all know the vibe. Patrick Kleckner 617 says, this chapter has been my favorite since Gear 5th was revealed. Since Gear 5th. I mean, wow. Okay, I'm not gonna go that far for me, because I love the Shanks chapter, I love the Aokiji and Garb chapters. There's been hella chapters for me that I've loved. But I mean, I get it. I definitely get it. This was one of those monumental ones where, I mean, Scopper, some people did not feel like Scopper was ever going to show up in the series. I mean, we didn't even see Vista again, so, I get it. The Bat 4977 says, TCB says stands shoulder to shoulder, so not equal, but I think it'd be more interesting if they were equal in strength in different ways. I think that's the thing, right? It's relativity. I think when you have two characters, they're not going to be equal in everything. Zoro and Sanji. I think Sanji's faster. I think Zoro's stronger, right? I think Sanji has better observation, but Zoro has insane reaction time. Sanji is probably definitely at this point more durable, but Zoro, I mean, has insane endurance. So they're comparable, right? And they're going to have strengths, not necessarily weaknesses, but in places where they excel. And I think the problem is people knock certain characters for not having the same things that another character has. I've mentioned this before, but I mentioned it here. I saw something, it had to do with school though, right? It was about how school is, where you have a bunch of different kids and you're teaching them, right? And it says school is like, the test is to climb the tree. And if we're saying the kids are like different types of animals because everybody's different, you have a monkey, you have an elephant, you have a dog, you have a cat, you have a tiger, you have a snake. But the test is to climb the tree, right? And if you can't climb the tree, you're dumb. People do that with One Piece characters, where it's like, oh, you don't have Conqueror's Haki? Mid. Trash, right? You don't have a Devil Fruit? Mid. Trash. What, you don't have a blade? You don't have a black blade? Trash. It's like, yo, these characters can compensate for their weaknesses in different ways. Right? It's almost like, I think me and Cole had a debate about Blackbeard versus Rayleigh. Now, oh my God, Blackbeard's going to demolish Rayleigh. And it was like, hold on. Yes, Blackbeard is stronger than Rayleigh at this point, but like Rayleigh can make up for his limitations in regards to not having a Devil Fruit and being old in so many different ways, right? So it's just like, I hate when people do this thing that's super linear in one track, where I'm like, there are multiple ways in which a character can win. And I think Oda did that in Wano with Big Mom, Law, and Kid, right? Where the win conditions are different. Like when we talk about Ulti and Katakuri, and I didn't mean to bring up Katakuri in this video, it just happens. But I'm like, the win conditions for Katakuri are much simpler than they would be for Ulti, right? Because of his powers and just the experience and the level that he's at, the win condition is just restraining her and then it's over, right? So it's like, I think that's what we don't think about enough is the win conditions, because a lot of people think about like knocking them out or no. You can win without doing that, right? So it's ran over. Let's move on. Ran over. EIO 5056 says, one thing I don't see anyone asking for is Shamrock and Gunko to be summoned. Someone in Elbaf had to do it, no? Meaning there's a traitor or a spy there. I mentioned that in a video before, but that's the thing. Either they were summoned or it's just another level with the God Knights. Now, if we go on that theory that they were summoned, who is it, right? Who is it? Because they obviously had people there. That's why they showed up, right? They had intel. So there's somebody there, but who is, I guess, competent enough to summon them and without anybody really noticing? I don't know. I like how you're thinking though. Zakrum Peak678 said Mr. Mojo Hot on Grand Line all knew who it was because in Japanese it's Gyaban. Oh, I gotta learn Japanese at some point. Right? Ralph Aim 5393 says Scopper's compared to Sanji, he's the left hand, or is the right hand to Luffy, which makes him stronger. End of story. He said, that's it. I'm not having a conversation. I get it. I get it. Tyler119 says, I want to know the residency process for the country is truly interesting. Now, that's something that we haven't thought about. Like, how do you get residency for Elbaf? Now, something that was talked about by Louis Arnault was you can't linger in Elbaf for a long time. Now, we saw Scopper. He did go visit Crocus, right? So maybe it's like you got to leave for a little while and come back. And we don't know. We really don't know. But I'm sure that's something they're going to touch on because, I mean, he's obviously like a resident of Elbaf now. People know him. He's accepted. He has a kid with Ripley. So, you know, good point. Good cat. Roronoa Deep says the way Shiki and Scopper Gaban keep coming up in speculations, predictions, and theories have become boring. If in the unlikely case this happens, there will be no excitement. Please stop with the Shiki and Scooper. It no longer makes sense. I don't know. I guess you didn't read the chapter. I don't know, man. But here we are. We're done. You know, I appreciate the questions. I appreciate some of the answers to some things that you guys gave. But per usual, I think the community, again, is the best part of reading One Piece weekly and enjoying this story. You guys make it so much more enjoyable. You have no idea. Just because things make more sense, it's easier to digest. And even the break weeks, right? We end up having a good time just with like the thoughts of everybody coming together. So I appreciate you guys like so much for supporting, liking, subscribing. That means a lot. So again, comment below. You may get in the video, like the video, subscribe. And thanks to my patrons as well. I appreciate you guys so much for holding it down. I appreciate it. Link below if you want to become a patron. Can be free, can be paid, up to you. But yeah, catch you guys in the next one.